I get it.
Okay, mbijan aganya.
Albaka.
Mbaka important.
Yo, nga transfer la sto.
Ya transfer la.
Ha, code nyingi.
Okay. Korsa. Nsila ID soto.
Sa soto. Sorry. I get it.
Mbijan bro.
Albaka.
Mbaka.
Bara alla service o tariaka.
Mbale.
Mo ki janna nun kunu bara tariaka.
Jannom yona forest de bureau. Gambia tonkon na no mbali ya bere. Birim koyna fo kato.
Bari si kodo kino kato ni fo bolong blabe to.
56 branches mola sota Gambia jang.
Ha?
Gambia kono ani Gambia bantala bankol. Nka kono kiya bere. Kodo sifa fo palindiro fo nyaadi lafta memmen na kodi to poto nin kodi maraw. Jannam number 1 di nyonta. Andum fana nata anoda enterprise sotale. Wolam nyindi ko domorol fana kol fana be firale le dadi mani domorol ni fana beteat. Gambia dawda yalo ngam fa kendol sotale je.
Wo moyo diat.
Apelenta
ni wo ka ni lafta nyelen kendol e bina.
Yalo bukani la ko la baraka ba.
Yalo ndel chosano lo.
Abaraka.
Of owning your dream homes, EJ Investment is here for you. Secure our quality bungalows with 2, 3 or 4 bedrooms, or our story buildings 3 or 4 to 5 bedrooms at very affordable prices with flexible payment plans at our Sanyang Seaview Estate, where you can enjoy the cool breeze with modern infrastructure such as tar roads, covered drainage system, modern electrification with street lights, gated entrance with security posts, and social amenities such as gas station, shopping mall, medical clinic, park, schools, children daycare, and a lot more. Our dedicated team of professionals will keep the estate clean at all times, provide security and patrol team within the estate premises, install latest technologies such as CCTV, Wi-Fi, home network installation, solar panel, and power backup system. Also, check out for our additional home facilities and interior design service such as premium tiling, wall plaster, home landscape, fingerprint home lock, and a lot more. Visit our office at Senegambia Kololi Highway and get a free site visit tour, or contact us on 4464838. WhatsApp us on 3259220. Or you can visit our Facebook page or Instagram on EJ Investments. EJ Investments, we are first in properties.
In communication, connectivity is everything. We ensure that the links never sleep. Quantities and qualities, all in our data service, providing efficient, reliable voice and data service. We believe if you're not up to speed, then you're going backwards. Communications have to flow as fast as the speed of light. Whatever business you're in, having someone who understands your needs is critical. That is why we just don't offer you technology, we offer you solutions. Enjoy Gamcel's internet broadband anytime, anywhere. Your national operator, Gamcel, Yaibaram.
Alright. Honey, did you remind him that the last time he sent the money, it was not enough to buy all the provisions?
Oh, sorry, I forgot to tell him.
Are you guys talking about money transfer to buy provisions?
Yes.
But don't you know about Baluwo?
Baluwo? What is Baluwo?
Baluwo is a service that your son can use to send provisions directly to you guys from the shop. And you don't have to worry about the exchange rate.
Tell me how Baluwo works.
It's very simple.
Just log on to baluwo.com and shop, or download the app on your phone. You can shop on the website or using the app to buy online basic products for your family and friends. With Baluwo, you decide what your money is spent on. Your money, your choice. Buy.
When we touch down, better broke down.
Gamtel G Fiber, now you can enjoy super fast internet in gigabytes. G Fiber is affordable, stable, secured, and accessible to homes, businesses, and enterprises. With Gamtel G Fiber, the future is speed. Gamtel, creating a brighter future in communication.
That's how she became mine and see that.
Hello and welcome to the brunch on Kerr, Fatou. I'm Lamin Cham presenting, and welcome wherever you are watching us across the globe. Well, here in the Gambia, of course, the hottest topic, as it has been over the last week or so, is the continuing worsening situation of the spread of the coronavirus and its accompanying predicaments for the country. Last night, at long last, President Barrow addressed the nation. We will get our analysts, who are now poised, joining us from wherever they are, to talk about what the president has said and the country's general situation of COVID. We will also talk about the preparedness of the Gambia's military. We are yet to see them in action, but there have been much talk about their anticipated participation in the fight against COVID. So, let me begin by introducing a whole array of people we are going to talk to at various points in this program. First, Dr. Bittaye, you all know him, Director of Medical Health, is here with us, and he will be giving us the expertise perspective of our COVID situation in the country. Doctor, welcome. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you for having us.
Very good. And not far from Doctor, we will be going to Banjul, the capital of the Gambia, because over the last couple of days, the mayor of the city, Rohey Malik Low, had launched an initiative. And with us here to talk about all that is Momodu Lamin Ba, is the public relations officer at the PCC. Are you with us, ML Ba?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Cham. I am with you guys.
Very good. And I talk about the anticipated participation of the military, much talk about anticipation of the military, participation of the military, and the Deputy PR of the Gambia Armed Forces, Malik Sanya, is on standby. Are you there, Malik? Malik, can you hear me, Malik?
I'm getting you loud and clear.
Very good. And now we cross over to London. There we have our friend Suleiman Jeng. Suleiman has a long background in security matters. He was a senior police officer, now based in the United Kingdom, and a commentator on Gambian affairs. Suleiman Jeng, welcome. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Mr. Cham. It's an honor, to be invited on this August panel to contribute my quota.
Fantastic. So I think if I haven't left out, I have not left out Flex, that is Yusuf Tello, a member of the Gambia Civic Society organization, very active in the last few days, giving their commentaries and perspective on the national COVID situation. Mr. Tello, are you with us? Hello, Mr. Tello, are you with us? Well, it looks like Tello has a problem with sound. Hello, Mr. Tello, can you hear us? Hello? You are clearing your throat, but you are not answering. Are you hearing me, Mr. Tello? Well, okay, I think that we will communicate to Mr. Tello to get his sound system on. But all the same, we go straight to Dr. Bittaye. Dr. Bittaye, really today I have the thankless job and a very unhappy job of updating the Gambian people to start up this program about the very latest situation of COVID in this country, and that is the 119th COVID-19 situation report for the Gambia for the 13th August and published on the 15th August today. So it is already 2 days old. It might not be the very latest, but officially that is the latest. So we have 4 new deaths, and this means 54 people have died of COVID. We have 66 new positive cases, which now makes a total of 1,689. We have 347 recoveries, but we have 1,288 active cases. That means those under treatment, and 345 people are currently in quarantine. Like I said, this is up to August the 13th.
Hello, guys.
And it's
some
already
familiar faces.
Can you hear me now, Mr. Taylor? Yes.
You can hear me.
Welcome. We can tell you. We can hear you. We'll come back to you. We have been introducing you when you couldn't hear you. Now, Dr. Bittaye, the situation still looks.
How's it going?
I'm fine, Taylor. We can hear you. We'll come back to you. We'll come back to you. Dr. Bittaye, the situation is still looking very scary. Like I have said, we have 54 deaths. That's quite scary. But then the positive cases seem to be a little bit down. Can you put us now, enlighten us now, what is the latest situation?
So thank you very much, Mr. Cham. Like you said, it's gloomy, and this is the trajectory we are expecting. So first, we had no cases. Then we had just imported cases. Usually that's how it is. Then one step is that we tend to miss in Gambia. It's like we jumped it. Is the clusters. So before you go to full-blown community transmission, usually there is clusters. Yeah, you just see some cases in clusters which you can quickly round up curve. But in Gambia, it almost jumped that stage, and we went straight to community transmission because of the nature and how we were lax in enforcing the rules and all those things. So now what is happening is that this is, like you said, the report. We have to understand that what we are reporting is date of report. It is the date you are in contact with the health authorities. It's the day we know about your exposure, or the day we got to be in touch with you. So after that day, we collect your sample, and it can never be, it will be difficult for it to be the same day that we collect the results, because the way it is, the tests, the microbiologists, molecular scientists are around, the test is a very long process. It's not like a malaria test, and we are yet to have a test that you can do quickly within a short period. So it has a lot of steps, and you have to be very careful in order not to infect all your people. So as of now, for a batch of tests to be run, it takes about 12 to 24 hours for us, because all the processes you need to batch the samples, then you need to go do DNA extraction, you need to do all the steps. So it takes a long time, and that's why the samples collected today, normally at best we get the results the following day. So there's always with that lag time. So if you are reading the report, it's always important to understand that we are talking about the date of reporting, not the day the lab results were received. Because because sometimes you batch results. Let's say you have 2 days of results, because of some reasons you couldn't get them. So the results you get will be for 2 days. So it doesn't necessarily, when you come out as 80 that day, it doesn't mean actually all of them is for that day. So you see that maybe some of them were the previous day, the other one. So what's important thing is to look at the curve. Yeah, what you are saying is true. We have this difficult moment, right now, according to all the projections. For example, the first projections we had was that at best we are going to have 53,000 cases, and at worst maybe 181 to 300,000. There's another projections from, for example, the President's Office, which talked about 60 to 90% of the population being infected. And out of these, 5% usually are critically ill and might end up in mortality. So what is happening now is that the only thing is we really need to try to reduce and mitigate as much as possible the infections, so that we don't have these people going into, especially those with underlying disease and others, to go into the stages that they will have to die. We regret to announce this, and we have now 54 deaths, and it's about less than 4% crude fatality rate. And it's not good, but we all need to continue to protect our people. If you look at the only people being infected, most of them are the young ones who are not mostly going to be affected. So they take it home, and then the elderly and the people with diabetes and underlying condition will be the one to carry the brunt of it. I don't know. So this is all the things we have to say for now.
All right. Doctor, you stay there. I have more questions for you, but I want my panelists to have an opportunity to put questions to you, their observations. Suleiman Jeng, since you are the farthest from home. What do you make of the doctor's explanation of the current situation and having lived under COVID, so to speak, in the United Kingdom, your experience and what is happening back home? What do you make of his explanation?
Well, to be quite honest, I think it's very worrisome. The analysis that doctor has just given is quite worrisome, especially, you know, when he highlighted from the cluster point to the full community transmission transition. Okay, if you look at the when it was at the cluster point, I think what really happened is like most of the Gambians, from our observation, were not taking the disease seriously, because a lot of them thought it was unreal. A lot of them thought it was just mere politicking. But for us who lived in the West, we've lived it. We have seen, you know, numerous deaths, and then we have seen people affected by it. So as a result, for example, when I phoned my mom and told her about it, she said to me, look, this is not true. They're just talking about it. The government wants money. And I was really, really worried. You know, an educated woman coming up with that concept, saying, you know, this is not real, the government just wants money. I said, no, something must be done to educate these people. Because what really happened is like most of them would not take it seriously until it hits home. And then they would begin to understand the gravity of it. That is what affected the Gambian populace. And then here, when something happened, you know, a national issue happened, everybody comes together. Irrespective of your political ideology, irrespective of your religion, irrespective of whatever society or organization that you belong, you leave all those ones aside and then come together as a people, as a nation, to combat that issue so as to save other lives. But we have not seen that happen in the Gambia for too long, and I think that is what has definitely affected, you know, a lot of people and made the spread like a bushfire. For instance, it's like here, you know, all the institutions, especially workplaces, they would have sanitizers, they would have leaflets, and then people would be spoken to, and then you would be asked if you feel any symptoms so that you can stay away from home, and then you would be encouraged to stay away from home. And then there are means and programs that will help you to sustain yourself while you are at home. But this also, I have noted, is seriously lacking in the Gambia, because you cannot ask someone to stay away from work or to stay at home when there are no means to support that person during this period when he or she stays at home. So it makes it absolutely difficult for people to definitely adhere to that. And then on the other side, you know, we as people, we do not tend to take our individual responsibilities seriously until we are kind of forced by, you know, an authority to do so. Because personally, I don't see the need why I should wait for a government initiative before I have to stay safe as an individual.
All right, Solomon, very good thoughts there. We will come back to you as now, over the last few weeks, you must have been hearing the preparedness of the army to join into the fight. I mean, the police are already there and other units of security, but it's been said that it might now involve the army. The government may now involve the army to fight it. And we want to know now what kind of preparations and which areas would the army come in if they are to come in. And the PDPRO Malik Sane is with us. Malik, how is preparedness in the army about the COVID-5?
Yes, the military, as of this moment, is watching developments of the spread of COVID-19 in the Gambia very closely. And what has also, you know, availed us the opportunity to be able to make such observations is the fact that we have not been totally out of the game, because yes, right now the police, which is the Gambia Police Force, is leading the operations. But then, you know, we have our personnel also embedded with them. We have supported them with personnel that are actually participating in every aspect of their operations at this moment. And our people also are working closely with the personnel of the Gambia Immigration Department who are at our various border posts also throughout the length and breadth of this country. And of course, our people also have been participating regularly in conducting patrols, especially at night, all over. So all that is geared towards actually, giving us first-hand information, seeing exactly, how the reaction of the people towards adhering to some of the pronouncements by the government, is going. So that if needs be, may God forbid, if it continues to get worse, obviously we will have to step in, so that we would have had the right information and we would have known exactly where the loopholes are, and then our intervention would be advised as a result of that.
Right. What about within the army? We have seen at the beginning of the crisis videos and media clips of the sort of activities that's happening within the army. How are you within the army preventing yourself?
That is right, Mr. Cham. The only way we will be able to effectively provide the necessary support to the government people in total would be to make sure that internally we are okay ourselves. The Gambia Armed Forces Medical Department, has been at the forefront of this since at the beginning in making sure that proactive and effective sensitization of our personnel is taking place throughout our military establishments in the country. Because as you know, we are found within the length and breadth of the Gambia, and therefore we interact with the communities in terms of the nature of our services that we provide to the people. So for us to be aware of nitty-gritties of this virus is actually key. And we've also made sure that, hand sanitizers as well as face masks are provided to our personnel also throughout the length and breadth of this country. And of recent, we've also even opened up our doors to members of the public who would be willing to say that, okay, since the military is also not immune to this particular virus, we want to do our civic duty in providing them, extra materials. We've also, had contributions from such laudable partners as well. So internally, this is what we have been observing, and we have also scaled down our level of interactions because you would know in the military, our society is such a congregational one. Usually you see us, together a lot during our parades and so forth. So we've been able to minimize those kind of interactions, those kind of congregational interactions, and found all the alternative means as of the moment to still give us the required results that we want in our daily responsibilities. Yes.
And you, like you said, we hope it doesn't get to that. Which areas do you think the army would more effectively participate in controlling this? For example, you mentioned border, or actually are you going to be making patrols in the streets to enforce the curfew, etc.?
Actually, the best way for us to be able to intervene, not to preempt should the need arise, would just be the intensification of the roles that the police are already playing. What we have had success in as of the moment is the Gambian population. It's been very cooperative as far as the curfew is concerned, and the state of public emergency pronouncements are concerned. But then it's just going to be more or less a revamp of what the police are already doing. And of course, having gathered exactly probably certain loopholes that would have been arising here and there to reinforce and then make sure that adherence to the Ministry of Health guidelines and the WHO are observed to curb the spread of COVID-19.
Fantastic. We'll come back to one more time before we take leave of you, because the rest of the program may touch politics, and that's not your area. Now let's cross over to the Banjul City Council, because over the last few days we watched the mayor of the city, Rahim Malik Law, launched an initiative that actually attracted attention all around the world, and major medias have covered her initiative, and they call it let me cross to the PRO, who has the official tag for the program, Lamin Ba. What exactly have been happening in Banjul that's making all this sort of noise?
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Cham. Assalamu alaikum to each and everyone on this platform. and also to everyone watching us right now. I will also want to take this opportunity to wish our Christian community a blessed and joyful Sangmari. And I will also want to seize the opportunity to say our condolence to the victims that have passed away due to COVID-19 in this country. And we wish all the victims that are suffering from COVID-19 a speedy recovery. And us that are affected, we pray that we will never contract the disease. You've said something very important, and that has to do with the recent initiative that was launched by the Lord Mayor of Banjul, that is the Operation 100 Face Mask for the people of Banjul and by extension the Gambia. If you can recall, the Lord Mayor of Banjul have been immensely working very hard with her team to make sure that we respond positively towards suppressing the spread of the coronavirus in the city of Banjul. And with that effort, looking at the current situation of the COVID-19 in the country, the number of deaths increasing, the Lord Mayor of Banjul deemed it necessary with the team to come together and see how best we can put our efforts together by involving the National Assembly members of Banjul, the councillors, the CSOs of Banjul, to launch the Operation 100 Max for the people of Banjul and the Gambia at large. So
100 masks, if you don't explain, seem to be very little for such an operation, or that's just a tack. What do you mean by it?
It is an operation that the mayor have launched.
Is it every day 100 masks? Oh,
exactly. We are to put the 100 masks together, and like I said, the stakeholders that I have already mentioned will come together, including the office of the IGP in Banjul, to see how best we can strategize and do the distribution. As that now, like she said during her speech, she appealed to the diaspora, knowing that the Gambian community have contributed a lot so far since when coronavirus have been declared as world pandemic. And we believe that the business community in Banjul are donor fatigue. So it is high time also to involve people in the diaspora, that is our family in the diaspora, to see how best they can help and support so that this initiative can be a reality.
Wow. And now, going forward, how has been the reception and the reaction of the people to the project?
To our own surprise, when the mayor launched the initiative on Thursday, on Friday, on Thursday itself, we received calls from people that are living in the diaspora. They made some pledges, and also we received 2 residents from Banjul on Friday that came to the city council and supported the initiative by giving the initiative 200 face masks for a start.
Wow.
So which we believe it is something that we really appreciate, and we also urge others to emulate and see how best they can come forward and support such a noble initiative. Because looking at the situation, as far as COVID-19 is concerned, looking at all the precautionary measures, more especially when it comes to the protocols that we must adhere to, face mask is one of the, I can say it's the #1 weapon that we can use to make sure that we cope this pandemic. So that is why we deem it necessary to make sure that we provide as many face masks as possible, so that the people in Banjul, the people in the Gambia, will be able to suppress the spread.
Yeah, and this is important because your city, actually, as you have highlighted, doesn't just belong to you, it's the capital of the Gambia. And so it's really a concern. If the city really is concerned to ensure that everybody who comes there is on mask, then obviously it's a giant step. And we wish you all the best. We'll come back to you though later. But let's cross over to Yusuf Taylor, otherwise called Flex. who is a member of the civil society organization, and I must say they were very busy. Politicians will say criticizing the government for not doing this thing or omitting that thing. And now the president has come out to say something. Yusuf Taylor, you and your civic society organization, are you now impressed that the president really is on top of things and promised that he will come out frequently, need arises, that is, and how has been his speech or perspective of the COVID situation? Can you hear me, Taylor? Hello, Yusuf? Well, it looks like we have been in trouble getting Yusuf Taylor, one of the groups. Hello, Yusuf, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, now I can hear you well. Did you hear what I've been talking about?
Yes, hello, I can finally hear you.
Yes, I heard you complain that you were not hearing anything, but that has been fixed now. I was going to say, now
I could only catch some bits of it, unfortunately, due to the connection.
Okay. All right. Now, what I wanted you to be, what I want to ask you, that I mean, the civic society.
I wasn't hearing you.
Now, civic society organizations have been very busy, accusing or criticizing the government of not doing this thing or omitting this thing. The president came out last night to
Can
talk
you come
about,
again? I lost you. One more time.
What do you make of the president's
Can you come
speech?
again?
I can hear you very well. Are you there? Well, it looks like we have a problem with flex hearing. So let's go back to Dr. Bittaye. Doctor, I mean, the numbers, the mortality rate that Mr. Barr and you yourself have alluded to is really scary. We are just let's say 1,500, and we're having 50 deaths. Comparatively, many people think that the way the rate is going.
Yes, I can hear you now. Yes, I think I got your question. What I make of the president's speech?
Fantastic. Go ahead.
Yes, what I make of the president's speech, especially considering that we have been calling for him to come out and speak. I think it's a good thing that the president has finally managed to come out and speak, albeit it's a bit as if we haven't got much new information, or it wasn't as what we were expecting. What I mean by that is that there have been a number of concerns raised. We heard the president talk about the heroes, those at the front line. Well, those at the front line have not been given the right equipment that they need when there is a lot of money that has already been spent. If these are truly your heroes, Mr. President, please make sure that we protect them. Please make sure that your wife, who has taken the PPE kits, gives them to the relevant authorities so that they can actually be able to address this plague that is currently confronting our nation and our country. We don't have that many doctors. We don't have that many frontline workers. We do not have to wait until it gets to the stage where most of them are down with the virus and cannot help us. And then we will have no choice but to try to fly in the support which we need. There are many other things which I can go on, but I was happy that he paid tribute to the frontline workers. They are doing an amazing job, but tributes will not be the only thing to save the frontline workers and to keep them in work, to keep them protecting us. It is not just tributes that will do it. He needs to do more than that.
To be fair with the First Lady's office, Mr. Taylor, the government has clarified that those PPEs were directly donated to the First Lady and they have since been distributed to other institutions. You're not still satisfied?
I am not, clearly. Certainly, for me, the fact that it's been donated to the First Lady's office is even a concern. Since when is the First Lady a designated office by the Ministry of Health to go around collecting PPE kit and distributing it? And by the way, we have one authority who is responsible for doing that exact same work, and that is the Ministry of Health. But we also know that our frontline workers, some of them have gone down with this virus. We know this. So it is not up to the president or the first lady to be taking this equipment and to be sharing it. Sharing it to who? Let them give us a comprehensive list who they shared it to. Are those that you want to tell me that we are going to share this equipment to people, other people, without considering those in the front line, without considering the president's heroes? I think that is a gross mistake and a huge oversight. In fact, the first lady should be, if I am her, avoid getting involved into these activities. I don't think it is helping the executive, nor is it helping the government of the day.
Who have been listening to this speech is Usman Jeng, afar in the United Kingdom. So you and your fellow Gambians who might be listening to the president's speech after a long, long wait, how did you react to his speech last night? Was it inspiring?
This speech was very magnificent. But before I get into his speech, I would just want to talk a little, pick one or two things on Felix Deng's assumption that the first lady should abstain from being involved in exercising or sensitizing the public in certain areas, especially when it comes to the PPI. I think that's a gross mistake because as individuals, we all have individual responsibilities. A clear case is like Basse. You've got MB Kurubari in America has initiated this.
Please please do not misrepresent what.
No, let me just land, please.
Yes, let's listen.
With all due respect, let me just land.
Okay.
MB as an individual has initiated in URR, wherein people in the diaspora contributes money, and then they sew this mask and then distribute them on daily basis to the community. So he is one individual spearheading that. So other institutions around the world would prefer to donate or to chip in, with people or individuals that are recognized by the community by virtue of their responsibility or their role within the community. Let's say, for example, Mr. Bah has stated when the mayoress of Banjul launched our 100 masks, two Banjulians came and donated, 200 masks. And some other people from the diaspora phoned to make pledges. So if the first lady is seen as spearheading, the supply of masks, other institutions would be more readily willing to supply her with those masks, wherein she can give it to the relevant authorities. I can agree with him on the fact that when those masks, when she received those masks, she should liaise with the health authorities instead of giving it to individual people who might not necessarily need it. But to say she should stay away, from being involved in that, I think that is very erroneous.
Flex, he agrees with you that the health ministry should have been consulted, but people tend to recognize the credibility of institutions and get attracted and say, well,
unfortunately, I cannot hear you.
Well, did you hear Mr. Jeng then? Did you hear Mr. Jeng?
I heard Mr. Jeng. And Mr. Jeng, it's unfortunate to hear what Mr. Jeng said. What I am saying is very clear. Mr. Jeng, please, I would like you to listen to it very, very well. Nobody is here saying that the first lady should not, on her own volition, go out there, lobby for items, or even her own self, come up with a fund to get items and hand it over to the Ministry of Health. That's not what I'm saying. What we're saying is very clear. We don't expect those items to be taken away from, diverted, in my view, diverted from the Ministry of Health, which is the relevant and the right authority, to the First Lady. She decides and starts sharing it. At a point when we are just reporting in our situation rep that our health workers are down with the virus. What does that mean? That means if the health workers and the frontliners who are supposed to do the testing are down, what happens to testing? Testing is delayed.
All right, correct me here if I am wrong.
Who are down on the front line because they are there to treat people, and unfortunately they don't have the right PPE kit, which our First Lady has taken and shared. This is what we are saying she must not do. We are happy for her to do like what Momodu Krubali has done. In fact, us as civil society, we do that. We get our equipment, we bring them from our support, we hand it over to the Ministry of Health, but we do not divert PPE that is meant to go to the Ministry of Health, take it, and then we start dividing it. We don't do that. And we don't expect the First Lady to do that.
Yeah, if I get you right, correct me if I'm wrong, that the PPEs that the First Lady distributed were meant for the Ministry of Health, and then she personally diverted those from the Ministry of Health and started distributing them. Is that what you're saying?
Are you hearing him, Flex? All right. What I can say, what the government said when the allegations came out was that the PPEs were directly donated from the Chinese embassy to the office of the First Lady, and the material did not even waste time with the First Lady. She distributed it to the various institutions right away. So I think the position of Flex was that why were they in fact in the first place given to the First Lady and not to the ministry or the line of government agency directly responsible? But I think those are the two arguments. But the most important thing, go ahead.
I think here what people need to understand, because most often people, hasten to blame the government for one or two things without, getting the actual facts as to what led to the circumstances. Let's say, for instance, it's like most of the time people, pay more attention onto the end result of things instead of, the process from where it starts leading to the end results. Because if you don't understand the whole process, you just focus on the end results, your power of information and empowering people will be limited. You need to have a holistic understanding of things. Now, you cannot stop me personally to donate to the First Lady. It's my stuff. I have a right to choose who I wish to donate my stuff to. So any other government or institutions, feels if that government or institution feels he or she needs to donate to the First Lady, why should they be stopped and asked to donate somewhere else?
All right, let's go to Dr. Bittaye. Like I was saying, people are scared that the rate of mortality compared to the amount of cases recorded is really scary. It's high compared to other countries, who have passed this stage. Now, what do you think really this indicates? Is it that care or perhaps early attention is not being given to COVID patients who needed treatments?
Yeah, so the mortalities, we are really worried about them, and we think that it's unacceptable, it's high. But to say that if you compare it with other countries at this stage is higher, we have a crude fatality rate. It's comparable to other countries and even lower in some many others. So yes, it is. We have to do best to ensure that we don't have the deaths as much. We have countries that are bigger than us, for example, and the whole country, they have just 2 ventilators. Recently, Gambia, we have many ventilators. We have a lot of CPAP machines, and we even have some not in use yet. We are waiting to put them once the demand gets higher in the relevant treatment centers. So to say, yes, we need a lot of, because the health sector, if you look at our health worker population ratio, what we have is very low, even well before COVID, compared to other countries. But, with what we have, I think the results could be better. It's not something, when people are dying, you cannot be talking about you are doing well or you're not.
Exactly. Now, the irony is that, like you said, the Gambia is very small, yet our health system, when I was growing up, was well recognized and recommended around the region to be one of the best programs, such as the primary health care and other things that people coming from neighboring countries to come to the Gambia to seek for treatment. Then with all this in place, how do we suddenly collapse, with just the arrival of COVID at this stage? That's what nobody can understand.
No, the problem is that the demand, I think to say that you have the structure, you have a primary health care, you have that, is good because it's a good structure of referral system, you have a 3-tier system. That's very good and it was working well. But to say that that was the best, now the people are aware, the populace is aware. I grew up here in Gambia not long ago. I hardly ever saw a doctor before. Now people demand to see doctors. In the system before, you hardly ever see a doctor. Doctor was only in hospitals, general hospitals. Now you have doctors in all the regions. So it's the demand. People are aware. We don't want to be dying young. We want to have the best care everywhere, and people are aware, and we are trying to reach that. Before, people were complacent. They were okay with what we're having. Yeah, it was good to have a good structure where you can refer, but the mortality was very high. Everything was very high, although the structure was there, primary health care. But who do you see at that level? You were seeing a village health worker. Now we've even stopped that. Now at a village level, you see a trained person. But we cannot meet so far where we are supposed to be because we need to have a level where even at the primary level, you have a doctor. To see the first contact is a doctor. That's what we are aiming at. So not to have a good structure that you can refer easily, but still people die. That's what we are talking about. So you're talking about indicators. Indicators needs to improve. And we have a populace that is demanding what they want in Europe. And we have to meet that. That's why it's very difficult. We are trying to aim at that, not to aim just like within sub-region that we are rated as very good. I mean, we have to pass that. Now we are competing with the whole world to serve our citizens.
There are complaints that private clinics are closed or scaled down. And, nurses or medical practitioners are afraid of attending to patients. There are other patients, a whole lot of them who are not even COVID infected, but might be suffering from diabetes and other things. They are not yet COVID infected, but they have nobody to attend to them. So their symptoms worsen, or, purely on the accounts of their diabetes alone, or high blood alone. So, I mean, this is terrible. You might be recording some deaths as COVID, which are not necessarily COVID.
So that's a good point, Mr. Cham, because you see, the deaths from COVID is not only COVID related. Some people die with COVID, but it's not COVID that killed them. Some people, they die because COVID has occupied all the cities that they need to have. Like, for example, all the facilities are filled up at the same time with people with COVID, and so the people with diabetes and others could not have access. So these are indirect deaths. And that's why we have to try always to be ahead of the COVID, so that we don't see like what happened in Italy. You see patients, because you see the problem with COVID is, why we talk about flattening the COVID, you don't have so many people getting sick at the same time. So if so many people get sick at the same time, we have a capacity that we feel. If we feel that capacity, then anybody else who comes will not have the service that is required. So that's why we have to always try to be ahead of it and to always make sure, and as much as possible, mitigate it. So if you mitigate it now, you don't reach that level. But I can tell you, if everybody gets sick at the same time now in Gambia, it's very difficult to take care of everyone. So that's why we're asking everybody to take the precautionary measures so that the targets we have, for example, the projections, one of them is telling you that at the peak, you can get 1,000 cases per day. That is if you are in our best state, at the peak. So you have to prepare for that. The other one is telling you can get up to 3,000 cases who will need admission per day. So, it depends on what we do, how we react to the measures being taken. That will help us. Countries, big countries like Italy, they have to have patients being on the floor. We have to avoid that. So, and how to avoid that is for everybody to come on board to support us so that we don't have so many patients getting sick at the same time. So if everybody gets sick in the Gambia, even it's not a problem, but let it happen at a rate where every time we have beds to take care of everyone. So that's what we want. Even if everybody is going to get sick, no problem, we'll handle it. But what we want is to do it in such a way that it's phased. People don't get sick all at the same time, and then we can take care of everyone. So this is what we want, and that's why we are putting in all the measures, making sure that we are always trying to be ahead of the disease as much as possible. Thank you.
All right, I will turn to the army so that I can let him go, because the topic is getting political.
Before the army goes, I want to talk about because the army have a big role to play. We are in touch with them.
Okay.
And they are a very disciplined force, and they are very ready. Like they've shown themselves to be available to serve the people, to help to serve the people. Recently, they've donated a lot of blood all over the country, and we are in touch with them. A group of them are trained in all the areas. Like case management, risk communication, sample collection. Like we took 10 training, all of them. Recently, I've written another letter to the CDS to see how we can get 100 of them or more to see how they are involved in sample collection and others. In all over the world, the Army is very responsive, especially the Gambian Army, and we look forward to doing more than just security. They have to do more, and we look forward to that. Thank you.
Well, Ms. Malik Sanyang, your roles have already been recognized at the level of the ministry. Let me ask your parting shots on this topic now.
Come again, Lamin. I did not get that part clearly.
I'm saying your role has been recognized at the Ministry of Health level. Kudos for that. I'm asking now, what would be your assessment, finally, of the situation and the possible involvement of the Army?
Yes, my assessment is that it has been okay. In addition to the recognition of the Health Ministry, we've also had our over 100 personnel of the Army that have been trained also with the United Nations Development Program. It was done in series of batches, and you know the campaign is really very strong, you know, within the armed forces in making sure that the awareness level is there, and of course also, you know, we are trying in as much as possible, you know, to recognize, you know, the fact that we may be needed, we may be called upon, you know, to give even beyond what we have, you know, as of the moment. You know, that is the stage right now at which we are. The other thing that I forgot to mention is that our videos that we have participated in, actually, one of them actually got us earned us a certificate of recognition from one of the, you know, prominent youth associations, you know, headquartered in South Africa. So we are actually doing the little that we can, and then, you know, it's everybody actually participating in your own little way. As far as we are concerned.
Yes, thank you very much, Malik Sanyang, Deputy PR at the Gambia Armed Forces, for your time with us. And we hope, actually, that we don't see soldiers in the street desperately trying to enforce the regulations. But of course, want to see more of you helping the health department, since the Army has long got an established medical unit, which is more impressive. And like you said, the Army is a more organized unit, you know, to be mobilized and to come to the aid of the general population much earlier. Thank you very much, and we hope that you will stay ready and, you know, be active all the time your service is needed. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you very much. Until we come your way again, when we will invite you again for more on this COVID matter, perhaps. Thank you, Malik.
Can I raise a quick concern with Doctor, please?
Yes. So I'm just getting our parting ways from the Army, since I don't want to involve them into hot political debates. So thank you very much, Malik. We will see you, inshallah, when we really need the Army's input again.
We will always oblige. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Suleiman, you were going to comment on it. I made, Doctor, the principal speaker, so that every one of us can have something to ask him. So I'm glad you have observations. What do you want to ask him?
Yes, you know, recently we've seen on the social media, government imported 10 well-equipped ambulances. And then I've also noted with grave concern that certain Gambians, you know, would call that hotline number that is issued by government. And most of them are complaining. They would call constantly. And then, you know, most of the times nobody picks up the calls. And when the calls are picked and then they tell them their situation, they would be advised to take a cab, you know, to take themselves to the hospital. I think that one is a great concern. And last night also, I've seen D.A. Jao, you know, on his wall highlighted another very, you know, worrying situation wherein someone was lying on the floor and, you know, both the emergency services were contacted up to 10 p.m. Nobody responded. From 4 p.m. in the evening to 10 p.m. at night. I definitely worry if that is the trend happening. You know, they are, you know, it's only going to worsen the situation. What has the doctor to say about this?
Doctor, you heard that there have been cases like that, isn't it?
Yeah, so thank you. I think it's a very fair question. And, you know, you have we've noticed that, and there are problems. For example, then they are trying to work with it, and some of the very kind, like Gamtel, ITAC, that is the IT association in the Gambia, they are working with our team to see how to support it. Like in the UK, if you call a number, you have a system that tells you, look, hold on, in the next 10 minutes, somebody will pick it, like that. That's the system that is lacking in Gambia. So if the calls are loaded, it doesn't just allow you to go through and something, and so you keep trying because the line is busy and there are limited lines. So they are working on that to try to see how, if you make a call, how they can keep engaging you so that you don't just, put the phone down and all. So that's one thing they are working on. And I think they've gone very far. And they are working with ITAC, who have come forward, and the Gamtel to see how to sort that with Pura. And they've even now developed an app that we, even at the management level, can even see directly how people are responding to the calls and all that, so that we can monitor closely. So I think it's a problem which we've recognized, and we are working on solving it. But it's not an easy one, but they're already working on it. So the other thing is about the response. I got to know about that case, I think around 10, 11, when the Sankara sent it to me, and then we just called the Red Cross. I think what is happening is usually this type of cases, when it happens, people just quickly see a way of sending them to the hospitals, but now everybody's afraid. And so because of that, it has all the response, all the barriers have to be done now by the government. So it looks like a lot. What usually used to happen quickly and just go now has to all come through a channel. And that has burdened that place. So when we did that, we just called the Red Cross and they just went. So there are two parts to the Red Cross. There's a safe burial part, and there is a group that also responds to humanitarian needs. So if you talk to the safe burial team, those people usually are only handling burial. Then there's another team that also handles to response. We also have our RRT that responds to positive cases to pick them. Then you have our quarantine team who also pick those who are supposed to go to quarantine. So the work is well divided. And so sometimes it's a communication issue. And yes, and we are still improving on that as we go. Thank you. And I just wanted to note that I just like if you look at, I think you are saying there's a political thing, and you are asking the army to leave. I'm not supposed to be political too.
As well, I know. That's why you are the principal speaker.
Yeah.
You are the principal speaker, but we can.
I just want to recognize one thing that I've seen here. Which is, if you look at it, whether all the areas, I mean, that's one thing that's unique about Gambia. What I've seen is that everybody is participating in the fight. Everybody is trying to see how to support. So for us, we are really happy to be part of it, because you can see that everyone is supporting our ideas and our move instead. Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Ba, in Banjul City Council, Dr. Bittaye talked about capacity. He said, we don't want to get to a place where we will have everybody getting sick together. And you and your office have put on preventive measures in that. And of course, Banjul is the epicenter, if you like. People like to call it Royal Victoria or Edward Francis. How involved is the BCC in that area, for example?
I can tell you for sure, at the level of the Banjul City Council, we've already set up a task force that will be responsible for responding to COVID-19. And one of the strategies that we put in place is to make sure that as far as part of our response initiative is to make sure that we work hand in glove with the Ministry of Health, which we are of course doing since at the beginning of this pandemic. And looking at the situation, it is what also triggered some of the things that we've been doing for the sanitarium. Because if you go to the sanitarium, Banjul City Council have been contributing immensely in terms of wash hand materials and also sanitary materials that are going there. And of recent, we've just gathered about 50 bed seats for the sanitarium in Venture. So these are all part of the efforts that we are doing as City Council to see how best we can respond in terms of coping the pandemic.
You also said you're going to introduce a voluntary testing, at least 100 people a day. How have people been responding to that? For all I know, some people really dared the very thought of, testing themselves in case they get positive and get stigmatized. How have you been? How was the response to that?
As far as that initiative is concerned, that is Know Your Status, Your COVID-19 Status initiative. That was initiated by Her Worship, Mayor Rahim Ali Blow. So far, so good. We've been working with volunteers from Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital, and we want to seize this opportunity to thank the Ministry of Health for also giving them the opportunity and also the platform for them to work with the City Council to help the residents of Banjul to know their COVID-19 status. So far, so good. The first initiative, when we started it, it was unfortunate that we targeted about 100 people for a start, but unfortunately, only 42 came, and we understood something after making this assessment within the community, understanding that most of them didn't come because of they believe that this stigma is something that is going to disturb them. But what we did as a city council is that we went back to the community with our PA system and communicate to them locally, because we believe as local authorities, we are the direct representative of the people. It's better for them to understand what we want to do. We didn't only stop there. The results of the mayor of Banjul was published, that she was tested and the test came out to be negative. And she was also encouraging others to come forward and know their COVID-19 status. Thank God, we also conducted a second activity, which was very successful this past Thursday, and we tested about 50 people within the city of Banjul. And we believe this is going to continue as far as our collaboration is concerned with volunteers from the Edward Francis Small Teaching Hospital is concerned, because as authorities, we must also think outside the box as far as helping our people is concerned. Because looking at the situation of the COVID-19, we can only see it becoming bigger than getting small. So this is something that is really a concern to us. And you can see with the leadership of the mayor of Banjul, she is going out every day talking to the people, bringing out posters through the Office of the Public Relations of the Banjul City Council to create awareness, to talk to the people, so that constantly we will be engaging the people to see how best we can suppress the spread. Because we believe it is something that we must do together. And she has made it very clear during the launching of the Operation 100 Mask that we must put our political, our ethnic, or whatever group aside, or differences aside, come together so that we can fight against this common threat that is COVID-19. And I believe it is very important as leaders to also start considering this, because like I said, for the task force, it is a composition of the National Assembly members for Banjul, because they were all written to, a letter was sent to them formally to inform them that they should come forward and be part of this noble initiative so that we can help Banjul. We also wrote to the councillors of Banjul, because these are the representatives of the people of Banjul. We also wrote to some of the relevant stakeholders like the Ministry of Health, the Office of the IGP, because we believe all of them have something to do in terms of putting efforts together and make sure that we suppress the spread of this COVID-19. And to make things clear here, the Operation 100 Mask is not only for the people of Banjul, it's also for the people of the Gambia. Because looking at the situation, as far as Banjul is the capital of the Gambia, Banjul belongs to all Gambians. So that is it for now.
Wow, impressive there. Thank you, ML Bar, PRO of Banjul City Council. Now let's cross over to Yusuf Taylor Flex. I don't want to get into politics, but the deputy presidential advisor last week criticized the civic society organization, people like yourself. He said instead of coming out with something that will really positively impact on the people, you keep distracting people with unnecessary criticisms and underrating what the government has been doing. Everything has been put in place to fight this COVID. There have been a lot of money to cushion people's economic hardships. Yet you keep criticizing and not necessarily forwarding tangible things. He said you are distracting people when they at a time when they should be concentrating on the fight to COVID. Has he got valid points there? He got some sympathizers actually.
Well, he has a point that there has been a lot of money spent. Where has that money been spent is another important question which he needs to.
You did not get a bag of rice with some oil.
Many Gambians did it. Thankfully, I'm grateful and I'm thankful that I wouldn't be I didn't apply for any bags of rice, and certainly I would be making sure somebody else has it because I feel that I would be taking it from somebody who needs it. Okay. But how many people have managed to get these items? I see the majority of the people. There has been a lot of money spent. I agree with him on that part. But when you look around, you look at the work that civil society has been doing with regards to getting masks, with regards to reminding people to respect the regulations. I have to remind him that the Association of Resident Doctors, GARD, they came out and they said in a statement dated 22nd July, it reads, "We are deeply saddened to notice government officials allowing public gatherings to be held without proper social distancing and absence of the usage of masks. Not only that,
yes, are you there?
Can you still hear me? Sorry about the connection.
I can hear you.
You can hear me now.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's sad to hear the mayor of Banjul complain that they have had no support whatsoever from the central government. This is a worrying concern. We heard her cry, and I hope that Dusanu and the rest of those who think that we are making unnecessary concerns are listening to the Gambia Association of Resident Doctors. If they don't want to listen to civil society, let them listen to what the Gambia Association of Resident Doctors are saying. Let them listen to what the mayor is saying. And also, my brother Suleiman, I agree with you. When you said that the 1025 is not being responded to, but you will not hear such statements in the president's speech. And this is why I said this president's speech is not great, like you said, but it is a poor one, which doesn't actually address the concerns which have been raised. So I will just let that one for now, and then I want to give my last statement in not too long because I have to head off.
All right. Okay, now let's get to Suleiman. Suleiman, the president's speech, was it a case of coming with substance, or was it just a simple act that, well, people actually missed to see me and they wanted me to come out so I can come out and say anything? People said it lacked substance. It was just a ploy to satisfy people who have been asking that he's been absent for long. Do you agree?
Yeah, you know, in Europe, what we do is like when something happened, you always, run to the public to see, what opinions have been made about it to get kind of a pool as to whether this is it was good or not. Now, when he made his speech, I browsed through the Gambian social media to have a feel as to the general reaction of his speech. And I've noted that people who were, very vocal on him to come out and speak, and people who are very critical of him, took the speech, wholeheartedly and felt that they have resonated with it well. And one such person is Tukulor C, you know, who on her page said, well, tonight she is not going to say anything to Barrow because, you know, Barrow's speech was very touching. That is the kind of reaction we want when the president makes a speech, because these are stand people that speak honestly about the current situation in the Gambia. So for me personally, it's like when I look at his speech, you know, I kind of analyze it. You know, I said, okay, at the beginning, how did he approach, you know, the public? He approached the public with an intelligence emotion, what you call in psychology, emotional intelligence. So he kind of empathized with those who lost their loved ones. And with that, generally, you connect fittingly with the people. And then he went on to say, you know, his government has kind of launched an initiative through, you know, a subcabinet committee that would draw programs and initiative. My only limitations there is, like Flesh Dengs has highlighted, you know, the essence of communicating is to inform and empower. So when the information is coded, I think the president was more like talking to experts than talking to ordinary people. Because, you know, the expert would react to his message, you know, clearly and understand. But the general Gambian wouldn't understand. What they would want to hear is those 10 ambulances, how are they utilized? Why is it that when they call, they are told there are no vehicles available? Go and get cabs. The speech should have addressed that, and then it would have connected and resonated well across everybody. But it's like, personally, the speech is magnificent, but it was coded and it was directed to experts instead of the ordinary Gambians.
Now, isn't it a problem to have had issues, people raising issues that instead of communicating in English, the president can speak 4 languages, 4 national languages fluently? Why didn't he start communicating in them? Wolof, Sarahule, Mandinka as well?
I think here, if you go back to the TRRC, you know, you can find some of these answers there. When some of the weaknesses were opportune to choose which language they want to speak, especially their own native languages, they chose to speak English. And what we have all seen, you know, is absolute disaster and subjecting oneself to kind of, you know, ridicule. A fitting example was David Colley.
Okay.
You understand? Okay, President Barrow, we all understand, has limitations like any of us. You can see some graduates in the Gambia. When they write, you love them. But when they come out and speak, you tend to look at, you know, the person next to you.
Exactly.
Did I really hear that? So you tend to question, you know, not only their accent, but, you know, their flow of thought, you know, a communication that is not coherent. You tend to lose, you know, understanding, because it's like the person jumps from one point to the other. But when it flows coherently, even if the speech is long, people, you know, tend to hang on to it. You know, they flow with it and they interact with it. That is effective communication. So the president can choose to speak. If I were him, I would speak in Fula. Today, next time, I would speak in Mandinka. The other time, I would speak in Sarahule. You know, you alternate in the local languages. Look at the people, let's say, for example, other countries like India, you know, like South Africa or others. When their leaders go out, they choose to speak in their languages and they get interpreters, even at international organizations. And then they speak well, they speak out their minds and they are understood. So nothing should stop Barrow from speaking, you know, in any of the local languages. And again, here, I think I would kind of fault, you know, his speech writers. I don't know who they are, because, you know, it is the speech writer that writes the speech. And then your speech should reflect and should connect with the people. You understand? So you prepare the president, you write. And so others are saying maybe he has reversed over. Let him reverse for 100 years. But let this speech, you know, let this speech be very, very coherent. Let this speech touch base with the people. Let it reflect the aspirations of the people. And that way, nobody would have anything to say.
Fantastic.
You know, sometimes you speak, you know, you mispronounce words by your accent. Sometimes you write, you know, autocorrect, you know, misspell words. So, and then we would, Lamin Cham, editor, this, that. So everybody think you are up there. But they, you know, they fail to understand you are human and you are prone to making errors.
Absolutely.
So Barrow also need to understand as a leader, you know, you cannot let people think for you. You should be thinking for yourself. I understand, some of those around him are people that he had long history with, people that he has grown up with, people that, their path had crossed long time ago, and they had that mutual understanding, respect, and liking for each other. But when it comes to politics, you don't run it like a corner store, or you don't run it like a league club. It is a national stake. So therefore, those around you must be people who reflect the interests of the nation, not people who reflect your own personal interest. Because getting people around him who are his associate, long-term associate, is like it's a social club. You don't call that a government. It is more like a social club.
Well, let's remind our viewers that this is still COVID, not politics. However, the topic may. Okay.
Because I'll bring it down to COVID because I've noted here, if you have the right people, Mr. Cham, around you, they would give you the right advice, and you can use your own judgment, to arrive at very informed decisions. Let's say, for example, is like the deputy PRO of Banjul City Council said at the beginning, a lot of people did not respond because, they fear if they responded and then they are tested positive, they would leave it that stigma, and psychologically that would worsen their condition. So here, if you had the right people around you, the best thing they would have advised you is like, look, let's use the prominent people in our society who have tested positive so that they can front the sensitization process.
And that was the case with the vice president, the ministers of finance, petroleum, all these people have come out to say, we have tested negative, so that people can come out and say, well, after all, it's not a death sentence.
Yes, they have, but I think the only person, to be quite honest with you, Mr. Cham, the only person that came across so fittingly is the mayor of KMC.
Oh,
because Talib, when he came, he was explaining, how he tested, how he prevented himself, how he secluded his family. So it's like he's kind of walking you through the process, how when you are infected, you are not only protecting yourself, but you are protecting the loved ones around you. You are containing the spread. This is what we need from our, representatives. This is what we need from our religious leaders. This is what we need from our community leaders. This is what we need from our role models. They should take the lead. And then when it comes to Felix Deng's association of why Dusano faulted the civil society for coming out, instead of coming with solutions, but faulting the government. I think what he should have addressed as a key advice of the president was to tell the president the truth, that, in the fight of COVID-19, we don't do it as separate, organs like the tails of an octopus. You need a united front, like the head of the octopus, that should be the central focal point where everything would be coordinated, and then you can trickle down to details. And that way, you would have, if something goes wrong, there is a particular unit that you can hold responsible, and you can always visit back to double check whether that unit is doing, the work that it starts effectively. But if that central coordinated effort is not established, is not initiated, then everybody tend to blame the president because he is the leader. So that is my take.
Fantastic. Well, I'm so Flex had left, as he said, he was so busy. He's to attend to some other things. Now we turn finally to Dr. Bittaye. Dr. Bittaye, how far how all the efforts have been put in place? Last week we had some news from Moscow suggesting that they have found a vaccine. We had Western powers expressing reservations about the effectiveness or even safety of that vaccine, even though President Putin said he had to test it on one of his own daughters, and everything was right. How far are we in the Gambia from trusting, or let's say from saying that we could probably have access to a vaccine, no matter what, misgivings about it? For example, the Malagasy delicacy, whatever you want to call it, has been here, but nobody has been heard of it.
Yeah, I think it's the way we know our limitations. Before the COVID came, we knew that COVID was doing a lot of disaster in other countries that are developed. And so we know that if it comes to Gambia, it will be worse because of our health system. So we also know that our limitations as a country, we are small and the resources are not there, the influence is not that big. So if, for example, the cartridges for Gene Expert, we have the Gene Expert machines in the country for a long time. The cartridges have been out since April. We are trying to get it since April, we cannot, because other big countries with influence are saying that they need it and they are giving it to them. So what we are doing as a country, because we know our context, so what we do is anything that comes out with prospects and promising, in the scientific world, there is always doubt in the beginning. So we quickly try to have it. If we have it, we keep it and start to look at the evidence. If we need to do research, we do. Like the Madagascar drug, we had it. But now it's so obvious that it's not that good, so we've never bothered to use it. But if it was now, if we did not stock it, at least some, and then it was found to be very helpful, Gambia cannot lay hands on it again. Because once America needs it or big countries, you are just last on the queue. So the same thing also with the hydroxychloroquine. We already have it in stock. There are a lot of evidence that are conflicting, like for example, for severe disease and moderate disease. It's obvious most of the random control trials say you cannot use it, but new studies are saying that it's a bit promising for the prophylaxis, and also we have it. Once we look at all the evidence and we are happy, then we use it. If it is not going to be useful, then we keep it. The same, we've already started contacting the people. We are already in touch with the Russian consulate, with Minister of Foreign Affairs, and we are also getting the data. Once we are able to have a stock of it, it's okay, and we do more of our studies. Here also in the Gambia, we are doing our own studies for some of the things. Like for example, the antigen test. We are also doing our own validation because to see whether we can use some of those things or not. So thank you.
So what happens to people who have been taken to treatment? What kind of medicine do you give them? Supposing they have not shown any symptoms. Some went there and came back, and they couldn't understand whether they were sick at all. No changes in their feelings. Some wanted to call it a party, and that can really trivialize the thing, because given the fact that some people can die. So what do you give them?
No, I think we need to understand the disease. You see, like Suleiman will tell you, if you are in the UK and you have you have no symptom, or you have mild symptoms, you are isolated at home. But in the Gambia, these people we call it treatment center because it's a misnomer. What you are doing is you are isolated. You don't need any drugs. You don't need anything. It's just to isolate you so that you don't transmit this to your people as much as possible to save you. But I see some journalists coming out and blasting the medical health. And we have people, 5% of the people are critically ill. And each one of those requires 30 times the resources that you need for all those people in the treatment center. It requires a lot of nurses all the time under you. It requires all the time the doctors watching at you, monitoring and all. Those people are the biggest priority. So now the others who are there, it's just, they don't need to see doctor every day. In Europe, they just call you. How are you doing every 3 days? How is this? And they fill a form, that's all. Once you are getting worse, but here, we have so many people living together in a home. And the studies have shown the census that like in a household, it's been isolate and all that. So that's why this is no symptoms with mild symptoms. You are isolated. You are not like on the treatment. You have to see doctors all the time. So it's a misnomer that people don't understand. And I think we'll come out to talk more on it so that people understand.
Exactly. Because that is what the people thought, that when somebody is infected, is seriously sick. They don't understand that you could be infected, but you don't show any symptoms. You'll be perfect in 2 weeks. But we don't want you to pass it to other people who might have a very weak immune system or underlying things, and they can suffer, worse than your case. I think that's understandable. You need to really protect this.
80% will be mild or no symptoms. 20% will have symptoms and moderate and severe. Then 5% will be critically ill and may die. So that 5%, each one of them require a lot of resources because it's ICU. It's what you spend on each one of them is a lot. And that's where, we have to try to save so many people.
All right, let me read out some few things. Somebody said, like my case, I'm still isolated at home, but given any medicine, but they all call me daily and I'm doing well. Like somebody's just, illustrating this point.
No, you don't need the medicine that much. I think, like most of the medicine we give, the supplements, you can have it in your food, especially in Gambia. You know, our food is very rich, is balanced. So if you do the right type of food, you don't even need all those supplements. You'll be fine. And but what we want is, we don't want you to give it to your granddad here. You don't want you to give it to your sister with diabetic. We don't want. So, and here in Gambia, it's not uncommon to have 3 people in a room, in a single room, or you have 2 people in a single room, and you are not husband and wife. It's very common. And so that's why we see how to prevent those things.
Fantastic, Doctor. I still, the PRO is still with us, the Banjul City Council. Are you there, ML Bar? No, he seems to have gone. So we are left with Doctor and Suleiman. Suleiman, there have been criticisms, just a little bit of them, directed at you.
Okay.
Somebody said, well, you probably are getting too soft with the government. Just to put it mildly.
No, I think everybody that has been following me lately knows I am 100% in support of Barrow. And I'm doing all that I can to kind of give him a good PR, to kind of refute most of the notions that people are trying to propagate on the social media about him that are not true. But when it comes to holding the government accountable, I don't shy away from my responsibility. Because personally, I believe when you love a person, no matter what the situation, you must tell that person the truth. That is how you express your sincere love to the individual. So I think that is why I decided to support NPP, because I cannot belong to any party wherein I cannot express my opinion or I cannot hold that leader accountable. So if I am supporting, if I am in any party, and then I feel, or that party leader or members feel I cannot express my opinion, then I think I have to leave. So with Barrow, whether I am in MPP or not MPP, he is my president. So as a consequence, I have a right to hold him accountable. So as a member of the NPP also, I want him to excel and to do better. I want him to win a lot of support. I want him, to gain, much respect and admiration from, the general Gambian populace. So by doing that, I have to, show him, the right direction. And then
maybe you need to fly back home and join the advisors.
No, I don't think I can do that from afar, like I am doing. Like I am doing. I think what I was saying. I've lost track on that.
Make sure it's the COVID.
Yeah, about the COVID. What I was saying is, like, during the peak of it in the United Kingdom, when you contract these symptoms, they would ask you to isolate for 14 days, because it is believed within that 14 days, you can either survive the symptom or it can worsen. There are certain situations where people also complain here. They've called the NHS or the COVID number, emergency number, but they were told to stay at home. And then what they were saying is like, okay, they asked us to stay at home so that we can die. They come and pick up the cops. So this is a situation because the NHS was kind of overburdened. They've got so much patients that they cannot accept any other people anymore. So they had to, like Doctor said, they had to deal with those emergency, those critical cases. And then the rest of them are advised to stay at home. Because, if you look at COVID-19 to contain it is simple. You all that you need is to be hygienic in the first instance. Because it doesn't want, when you are constantly, like every an hour, you wash your hands just for 20 minutes with soap, especially with warm water. You don't often touch your face, but you can see people, all the time digging their fingers into their nose, like they're searching for gold mine, And then, like Doctor also stated, you have 3 or 4 people in, in a bed, and then, husband and wife, because, the room, when you close the door, the oxygen is limited within the 4 walls. And when you are breathing out carbon dioxide and the other person is breathing out carbon dioxide, so it kind of mixes with the oxygen. So it gets to a point when the oxygen is very limited and you are struggling to survive it. So any bone disease that comes through the breath can easily, like tuberculosis, could easily be contracted. So we need to understand that we need to socially distance ourselves, not only to protect our loved ones, but you protect yourself in the first place. You cannot protect someone when you are, ill. You need to be healthy. You need to be, protected before you protect yourself. And I think
fantastic.
We must also understand, like the doctor said, when lives are lost, there is no point to say, "Oh, you've done well," or "You're not doing well."
You cannot tell a success story. Yes.
Yeah. What you need to do is to, put in place individual efforts that would complement the communal efforts to contain, that deadly pandemic. When that is resolved, we call reassessment. Like in the security, you call debriefing. Wow. So you come back and sit, and see where you have done wrong, what things you could have done to prevent these things, and then you use those as landmarks, as benchmarks to draw policies for other, future, issues wherein, when the pandemic, when the coronavirus came, this was what we used, and we followed this route, and then we can use similar route or even, augment it so that you can, fight the other. But in the Gambia, generally, people they like wait and see situations, because I remember, before the Faraba case, I wrote something about it. I said, the security need to be proactive and the government needs to be proactive. When you see something coming from afar, you should start to initiate, means, so that you can contain it long before it arrives. But most often times, it's like we wait until when it arrives. And then when it gets out of hand, we start running like headless chickens to find solutions. And the damage would have already been done.
Thank you very much, Suleiman. Doctor, I know, Dr. Bittaye, you can't agree more with Suleiman there. The trouble with doctors is they are like the police. Nobody wants them until it is too late.
Exactly.
And they want them to perform miracles.
Exactly.
That's how it happens. And doctor, people like you who really grew up or who might have been familiar with hospital environment, you are very familiar with mortality, very heavy injuries. When people hear you talk about figures, they say, this guy talk with figures as if he has no feelings. These are human beings who have lost their life. I'm sure you must have come across that, because we are wrapping up now, doctor. What will be your final message, especially from this 119th report going forward now?
I think we should continue. We should brace for more, because we think that we are going towards the peak, and the natural cycle is that it has to go to a level where it peaks, then it comes down. When it comes down again, we will go back to the measures that we were doing, like to try to follow every condition and maybe quarantine them until we don't have any disease again. So it's a cycle that we have to go through. It's very painful for all of us. And like you said, we are dealing with this every day. Like I get reports every day of how many people are on oxygen, how many people are severely sick. I go to visit them, even in private facility. Yesterday, I have to go see some very sick cases and see how they are doing. So we are really, we know what is going on. It's not easy for us. When we talk, because we know what is happening everywhere. So when I talk about a condition that is happening in the Lemon Creek, who is not having symptoms and all, and they talk to me about it, I'm seeing a whole picture. And everybody, we try to cater for them, but we have to prioritize really so that we all come out of this better and stronger. So for me, one thing we need to say is that we express like the president has said, like everyone has said, our minister, that we send our sympathies and condolences to all the people who have lost their families or their loved ones. Because it's a very difficult time, and we all together need to fight this together. And to the security, the Red Cross, all the health workers also, we really thank them for what they are doing and for going the extra mile. And it's highly appreciated. But this war is far from over, and everybody has to be on guard. And let's continue to do what we are doing. Let's continue to talk to everyone, because the life you save may be yours. We have people coming in like Tough, like Grigara. They are supporting. Who knows who's the next person to stay in that hotel or in that hospital? Who knows who's the next person who's going to benefit from that CPAP machine or that? So as a country, but to be fair to the country, I can tell you that what I've seen. We are happy with the support that is coming. We are happy with the togetherness. Even people who are in different political parties, you guys seeing all of them calling us, seeing how to support and all, and that should continue. And I think what you are doing as a media is also important. Allow people to vent. for us as health, we're very happy if people can insult us, tell us everything, but let them do the precautions, let them avoid the protests, let them avoid those things, so that people can continue to stay alive. And I think you are giving people the opportunity to say that, and we really appreciate that.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bittaye, Mustapha Bittaye, Director of Health, and Suleiman Jeng is an ex-Gambian policeman based in the UK who also comments on Gambian affairs. And we had Malik Sanyang of the Gambia Armed Forces. And we had Mourou Lamin Bah, the PRO of Banjul City Council. We have Yusuf Tello from the civic society organizations. And to all of you all who have been viewing us from wherever you are, until we come back your way again, this Lamin Cham, hoping that we will have less and less cases of COVID when we meet again next week. Until then, goodbye.
We live in a day and age where technology is creating a world without borders, filled with unlimited potential to improve the lives of the people around us. Innovarex Global Health ushers in a new way of leveling the playing field with increased access to quality healthcare services delivered at your doorstep. Our qualified professionals are equipped with state-of-the-art point-of-care testing technology to conduct tests such as kidney function, liver function, electrolyte tests, body composition, hemoglobin, A1C, and many more services with the highest efficiency in delivering results. The addition to our flagship Wellness on Wheels, more fondly known as WOW Delivery Service, brings the entire clinical experience full circle. IGH has remained committed to creating the future of healthcare delivery. Gone are the days of sending loved ones outside the country for basic medical services. Innovarex Global Health offers a new peace of mind and takes pride in delivering the quality of care we all deserve.
Love like fire. Wow. Love like fire. Xam ngeen rek affaire bi xam ngeen fan la? Skincare la. 2020 lañ wax de. Waaw. Fii nag mooy Kerr fan Kerr zero tache. Perfect skin. Skincare saa su ne rek niñ ko dee defee rek. Loo lañ soxlaati rek. Maanaam bu ngeen am problème ci seen skin yéen xam ngeen fan la. Fii ngeen di ñëw. Suma xarit yeeg am di jàmm yi nga xam ne taas daf lañ sonaloon xam nga doon xeesal bel la ka xum éneew ma lañ ko nag waaye just in case comme ni ko gars yi defee rek en cas just in case loolu xew xam ngeen fi ngeen di ñëw skincare plus si yu baax rek la ñoo dox nag ay baax rek fu ne la ñoo dem ci réew mi di lañ indi rek nag products yu baax du Paris du Italie du USA du fi mu nekk nii sax boole nañ ci nag Sweden fu nekk la ñu ne indi les products bu dee tamit nag da nga ñuul rek ñu lay jamaa natural beauty that melanin dripping we do have stuff for you as well emuñ si skincare products rek ñu ngi ci cuub yi tamit fu ne la ñoo jaar in fact sax last commercial bi ñu defoon waxuñ leen woon ne dañoo dox ci ay kawar 9A grade rek nag waaw we do have bundles as well hair si lu ne la ñoo dox ñun ñu ngi ci rafetal jigéen rek luy taaral jigéen rek waaw boo leen di tukki tamit bëggoon that classic suitcase ñu dañoo dox ci ay Samsonite duñ dee indi any brand of suitcases though other than Samsonite comme li ma dee wax rek boo eggee airport dëri Samsonite dafa am nuñ laa xoolee waaw ngeen ne lan nag waaw skin ci moom la ñu gën a xamee nag skin care products ci moom la ñu gën a xamee ñu ngi dox tamit bentey tamit si ay dàll man waaye man nag skin care mooy sama specialty xam nga rek jigéen bu sa xar kanam réglé loo def mu jag am nañ Patricia Reina Kiwi Eye the whole range Lighten Up Gold Tomatine I mean the list can just go on and on and on and on lépp loo xam ne rek luy taaral jigéen la ci yooyu rek la ñoo dox skin care plus nag emuñ si Gambia rek ñu nga United States ñu ngi Gambia fii ba pare bu dee yaa ngi anywhere in Europe mun nañ la ko mail within 3 days rek ñetti fan rek nga jot say diw emuñ si loolu rek dañ laa consult tamit balaa ñu laa jaay diw dinañ def a free consultation pour wax la rek exactly li nga xam ne moo méngoo ak sa kanam dinañ leen wax tamit ne rek am nañ perfumes you know fragrances men's shirts accessories we do dresses as well we do blouses I mean we do shoes name it we do them Skincare Plus 2020 is our year of perfection zero task fi mu nekk nii réew mi fii kenn waratu fi task kenn waratu fi am problème kanam kenn waratu fi am problème yu picca boo ko amee dafa fekk ne rek ñëwuloo ci place bi fii. Love like fire. Bring my love like fire.
Miss B Designer Outlet is the #1 quality and affordable stop shop for all your needs. Get your evening dresses, suit and ties, office wears for both ladies and gentlemen, beach wears, sport wears, pure leather shoes for men, quality belts, bags, heels for all beautiful ladies, original perfumes, accessories, and a lot more. Find us at Kololini Road opposite Gaddafi Mosque at the Aqua Bridge Station, or call us on 295-3411 or 764-2486. Miss B Designer Outlet. Shop right, look good.
you.